Driving change in maritime. Welcome to another Teqplay Vodcast. With me today is Carsten Bullemer, a serial entrepreneur and an organizer of Maritime AIS and Maritime Visibility. We will dive into the history and the future of AIS, and we are looking forward to this conversation. Hi, Carsten. Good to have you on the podcast. Really enjoy having you on the Teqplay Vodcast show. We've met one another a couple of times in a lot of events. I always enjoyed having the conversation, so I'm really looking forward to have a chat with you on all the topics that we're going to discuss. But maybe could you briefly introduce yourself for the audience, like who is Carsten and why did you end up in the maritime space, Carsten?
So Leon, first thank you for hosting me and sorry for not being with you in this lovely studio in the Netherlands. Carsten was a young boy, always interested in technology. I studied computer science in Cologne, near to the Dutch border. Then I spent a couple of years in Bavaria working for German automotive companies, Audi in Ingolstadt. And then more or less by accident came to Hamburg, applied for a job here in the terminal operator in the port business. They didn't took me, so I had to start my own company, which was developing software for smaller companies like, let's say, tugboat operators, linesmen, pilots. And then I discovered AIS, which was new at that time, installed first antennas, regional-wise, and then started this into a global business. The company was then vesseltracker.com at the time. Sold the company in 2015, and from this started with some more ideas and some more companies, always related with tracking of ships and maritime data. And it was always the goal, not only processing the data, but also producing the data.
Cool. Nice. I think there is a lot of analogies if you look at your path and my path. It's computer science. It's looking at data and what you can do and how you can leverage that data. So that's nice to see on that one. Currently, you are running a couple of businesses. Can you elaborate a bit more on what you're doing, Carsten? I think that's good to give some context on that one.
So after leaving Vessel Tracker, I came up with 3 new ideas, maybe a little bit too much at that time. One is Searoutes.com, which is now a company based in France. The idea when we started, the initial idea was vessel routing, but we discovered that is a little bit difficult not to solve, but to sell. And we changed this more into emission reporting, CO2 reporting, carbon things. And the other 2 companies are NaviSense, which is an AIS data platform, probably the most advanced and used AIS data platform. And the second one is Trusted Docs, which is a platform about data, about ships, about shipyards, ship repair, but also new build ships and all that kind of stuff. So it's all around data in the maritime space.
And if you look back now on your journey that you have been in maritime, what is it that is attracting you towards the maritime space?
I think, quite frankly, it is that there are not so many players. It's a niche, and even smaller companies like ours with, so to say, limited abilities can survive in that kind of business. And it's not so difficult because, again, it's a niche. You have 70,000 ships. You have maybe a couple of hundred ports, a couple of hundred shipyards. So it's not so hard, to look into it. There are not so many data providers. There are not so many solution providers. So that was always a good opportunities, even for smaller entrepreneurs with not so much money on the side.
No. Okay, get it. I think for us, if I look at my journey, I think what I see, I like this fact that if I talk about maritime, that is really about collaboration. There are a lot of things and things that need to be coordinated. There's a lot of orchestration going on, and that is something which really attracts me, and where technology and data actually can help to drive innovation and to bring collaboration to the next level. That is the point. What personally drives me. I think one of the things you touch upon as well is like a lot of these solutions that you are providing are depending on AIS. For me, that was actually the point that really attracted me into the space. I was previously working in open data, learned a lot about how important data is, and then I encountered AIS data, which is not really open data, but it is publicly accessible kind of in that part. And I thought, wow, if this is real-time data, you can do a lot of things with that. If you look at what you have been doing and what happened in that space, what did you see as the developments in the AIS that has been happening over the last years?
So quite honestly, I don't see so much of a development in that space. I mean, from a technical point of view, there have been a lot of developments in a commercial point of view. So when we started, let's say almost 20 years ago, there were a lot of hobby people, smaller business, doing something, sharing the data. We did not even understand the value of this data. We thought maybe the live data has some value, but history data of AIS, who wants it? Nobody really needs this. Then we learned quite the opposite, that the historical data is even maybe some more valuable than the live data. And then more money came into the space, and all, let's say, the smaller companies or people, they have more or less sold their business to venture capitalist funds and hedge funds. And now it seems that quite some guys are in this space. I mean, even there was then collecting AIS data from space, which we did not really expect that this will work. Now we see AIS data collecting from fleets.
Yeah.
But the basic technology is more or less the same. So you need a radio. You need to connect the radio to some kind of a PC or computer or chip, and then you can demodule the radio frequency, and then you see positions around you. And if you put these antennas on a very high space, you get more coverage than you put it on the ground. So the basic technology is quite simple and has not changed much. However, the commercial surroundings have changed a lot.
Yeah. And if you look back at the developments, is it going the right direction from your perspective, Carsten?
I mean, we had this. I'm also had this sympathy of having open data, and data is available. It's a commodity, and that was the idea. And when I started, everybody was telling me, "Hey, it's not a good idea because the data will be a commodity. Everybody will have it sooner or later, and the value is more in the analytics and in the software you are doing, and not so much in the data." And the truth. These were some expert telling this, and the truth has been quite the opposite way. So the analytics is, at the moment, it's not so complicated, but having access to the data is quite more difficult.
Yeah. Is that the monetization of the data that has played a big role in that part, or what did we? Because this commoditization, that was also, I think, something I heard a lot. I was also kind of thinking like that will happen and people will continue to share, but what is it that actually changed this game from your perspective?
I think you have 2 or 3 drivers of this. One have been regulations from some of the countries who have been at the beginning, and they are quite opposite. So you have, let's say, the Norwegians who say, here's our AIS data from our coast, take it, it's open source. And then you have other kinds of the world like India or China who have been very restricted. And it's quite hard and difficult to get the data out of the country, or even, let's say, install sensors or antennas there. And then you have from, let's say, maybe 10 or 15 companies who were providing AIS data and selling streams, and that has shrunk down to maybe 2 or 3 companies.
Yeah.
And it's also was what we expected, that a lot of even of the companies will share the data and open it. Also, that has not been seen that much because there have been security concerns, but also people like to have their competitive advantage by not sharing so much of the data with others.
Do you think this will change back again? Do you feel like there will be an opportunity to again source this data on a global scale to have it openly available, or has it become decommoditized, so to say?
I mean, I was wrong in my expectations 10 years ago, and when I tell you now something, maybe I'm wrong again. Yeah. I would expect that potentially when all the ships are now connected on the sea and they have now cheap internet connections, the game will shift again. But then it's a question is if the shipping companies, the owner of the ships, what they will do with the data, and at the end also who is then owning it. So I would probably, and also when you now look at what is going on in the world with all these wars, with all this crisis zone, I would tend more that the data will be more and more restricted, and that the data is available for everybody everywhere at low cost or zero cost. I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
At least not in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Maybe, it's interesting to think what is really the challenge over here. Is that the bundling of the data, or is it the sourcing of the individual data? I think the signal is open in itself, right? So locally you can always get the visibility with your own antenna. You can process it, but globally that will be hard, because then you need to have a lot of other people who are willing and open to share.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Cool. Yeah, as shared, I really hope that we move a bit more back towards the area where we are sharing these kind of things, and do that for the greater good as well. In that sense, if you look back on what you have been doing, what have you seen as being the most successful initiatives that have been realized on top of AIS or with AIS in that sense?
I mean, I don't want to glorify me, but I mean, what was always appreciated by the community was the events I was doing in a frequent role, the AIS Summit. I mean, you also have been, and that's where we met first. You have been very active, and yesterday, I don't know, I had a green T-shirt in my hand, and it was one of your Port XL event T-shirts. I think it was always almost 10 years old. So the events I was hosting, then Searoutes is quite a successful company in France, and also with the trusted dogs and with the port tracker, we have quite a lot of fans and users who are using our tools and data on a daily basis and need it for their operative businesses. And I mean, yeah, so happy also to work with my small team here in Hamburg on new ideas. We have some very good ideas and new things that also could maybe turn a little bit around the AIS data, especially on the devising side. So that's also what I enjoy. It's not only we are not only software guys, but we also always work on hardware and on things you can deploy. You have it in your hand, and you install it around the world.
Yeah. And we were having a pre-discussion, and then you mentioned like everyone was expecting there would be a lot of value in the analytics and what you can do with that data. Yeah, we've been in this business. Getting value out of it it's a lot of work. You would expect that if someone does that work, that will be kind of valued. But there is also some kind of tendency I see. Where people are doing it by themselves, processing the data, getting all the elements out of it. What is your idea or your opinion about that? Why is that people are processing data in that manner and rather than collaborating and using it on the analytics side?
I mean, everybody has his own motivations, and it depends a little bit. Especially, we also made our experience when working with the larger or even with the biggest companies in our space that when they see this value in the data or in the analytics, then for whatever reasons they get the idea. There will be always somebody who say, okay, let's try it by ourselves. Why do we need these kind of suppliers, the startup companies, whatever? Let's do it by ourselves. And then they hire some consultants or whatever firms, and then they are trying to build something. And building is not such a difficult thing at these days. And I think more the running of these kind of systems is the difficult part. Mm-hmm. Running it, monitoring it, maintaining it, also doing it on the weekends, and that is maybe especially when these kind of big organizations come to their limits. But most of them, they are really realizing these kind of things after they made the decision to build something by themselves, because coming up with a POC or something that works and looks shiny, not so difficult. Having something which runs stable 24/7 and is bulletproofed, more difficult.
Clear. And I can relate to that. I think getting the data and processing it, yes, you can do it. And especially if you look historically, but if you need to continue do it real time for the entire world, that's a lot of work, and a lot of things can go wrong and will go wrong in that sense.
It's a lot of work, and I also doubt that, let's say, if there is one company, even if it's a big company, I mean, I could mention a fantasy name like Maersk, they can do it, but it does not really make sense to do it only for themselves, because the cost of running this just for a single company, if it will be too high if you do it the right way.
Yep. What I'm also very curious about, Carsten, is like if we talk about AIS, that already also has the letters AI in it, which is really a hot topic at this point in time.
Yes.
If you look at the maritime industry and all the different stakeholders and all the different processes that are going on, What is your take on the role that AI will have in the industry, and how that is going to roll out?
I mean, the development in the AI is going very fast. And when I looked at it the first time, let's say 2 years ago, I say that there is not a lot of value in it, and maybe you can do most of the things better with traditional mathematic methods. I also have studied a lot of these kind of stuff, but nowadays I would say it can really change more or less everything. And probably first you will see a lot of changes, not in the technical management or maybe even not in the operational side, but for sure in the commercial departments of the shipping company. So all these forms, all these PDFs, all this purchasing activities, whatever. I think that is if you are smart and you want to lean your processes, it's quite easy to do this. If the shipping companies or the owners or the managers have at the moment the desire to do this kind of stuff, I'm not sure. Because it always the shipping is always in the cycles, and when they have a lot of money and earn a lot of money, maybe there is not such a much need to save costs, and when they are on the down cycle, maybe then it's even too late to save costs. But I see first probably in the commercial world, and before this comes in the operational handling of a ship, probably it will take some time.
Yeah, I think there are also where people are less willing to take the risk in the operational space, right? It's big machines that are kind of running, and you don't want to rely or don't dare to rely on it. In a couple of the conversations I had, one of the things I really found interesting is the fact that they mentioned, like, we need to have a very high level of certainty, and then they were talking about 90 to 95% of certainty in order to ingest data into an operational system, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to ingest that data. People will still need to look at it, still need to check it, and do not dare to depend on it. So with the statistics part, which I always believe a lot, if you need to make a bet and you need to make a bet on I'm 60% right, that's better than 50-50. That doesn't, in the operational environment, seem to stand up in that sense. I really find that interesting, and I can relate to the fact that you say, like, operations will be the last one.
Yeah, but but at the moment, I think there is so much room on the commercial side. I mean, even things that has been not touched, let's say, like fields. Checking invoices. So do I, maybe you had people or nobody wants to do this, all the incoming invoices or outgoing invoices to check them. And now there you can have easily something checking your invoices and then sorting out those ones who look not right and so, and then pass it over to somebody who can check it, or reading invoices, putting them in the right boxes, forward it to the right people. So I think that are the easy spots at the moment where I already know that at least the smart shipping operators in the commercial departments are looking into it. Mm-hmm. It will take some time before this will come into the operational and in the technical world. Yeah. But maybe I'm wrong again.
Yeah, the other area to explore kind of in that space is, like, if you actually could ingest the data that is in AIS, those data feeds, if you publish them through APIs and make them available inside the large language models, I think that could result also in some really interesting decision making or supportive data to base the LLMs on and to answer queries from users in that perspective. So I'm curious, like, which way that will go actually.
Yeah, we already have done some kind of what you just mentioned, and I mean it's really interesting, and also I mean I also like my job and my development, and I learned a lot in doing this kind of things, injecting AIS data and large language models, injecting all kind of things in working with AI, we also have started a vector database where we have manuals, and you can ask all kind of technical questions then to the language model. I also would say works maybe in 90%, but will not work in 95%. However, it's at the moment it's difficult to sell these kind of things, and there are not so many people at the moment knocking on our doors asking for AI systems, unfortunately. But everybody is talking about it.
Yeah, that's. But I think that's kind of the tendency. Innovation in maritime. I think that's another topic that we discussed. Like how difficult it is to actually get innovation into the maritime ecosystem, to move it away from talking, right?
I mean, we are based in Germany, and we have in these times a problem in innovation at all. And if you look into our railway systems, if you look in our infrastructure, there is not a lot. If you look into our automotive industry, we have a lack of innovation everywhere. And so for me, it's a little bit difficult then to judge the maritime sector to saying they are not innovating. I think, or maybe especially in Europe, we have a problem in innovation at all. That what you see, I mean, look, when you travel to China or to Asia, they have so many new things, and you see a lot of stuff, and we are falling behind. So I'm not sure if this is if a big problem in the maritime, or it's just a fact because most of the dominating players in the maritime are still coming from the old world, like Germany, Greece, something like this.
Yeah, that might make sense. It's good to take these things into consideration. I'm also looking, like you mentioned at the start of the conversation, that we first met on the AIS Summit in Hamburg. Now, I did also hear some rumors about that there is something going to happen again in this area. Can you elaborate a bit on that part?
Yeah, it's not a rumor. So we have been sleeping. We have been sleeping for, let's say, 5 years or so. There was also the Corona outbreak where we couldn't do anything, and we also was under the impression not AIS is putting dots on a map, and not much has changed. Why should we do a conference every year? However, now with the change of the market, and it's getting more and more difficult, at least to get global AIS position data at a decent price. A friend of mine, Peter Stoyanov, who is hosting the quite famous website AIS Hub, he contacted me a couple of months ago and saying, "Hey, Carsten, we need to do something. Why can't we meet again in Hamburg like we did the years before?" And because I like doing this conference, and I also like to do my friend a favor, we said, okay, let's meet in the November time. Then the summer holidays is over. We are back to work, and let's see who comes. I already have a very good feedback from big companies from the space, like Lloyd's List Intelligence is coming, IHS is coming, Peter Stoyanov, AIS Hub is coming. You also said you want to come. So there will be a lot of people from AIS. And on the second day, so it's a 2-day conference, and the second day it's a little bit, I'm not sure what's going to happen then. It's around maritime AI. So everybody can present what they are working on, what new ideas, what works, what don't work. So it's then a combination. So 5th and 6th Novembers in the Hamburg.
Cool. That sounds like a thing. And I actually, now you're mentioning this part, I think like we should make a hackathon out of it, right? Where we can build some cool stuff.
I mean that, yeah, the hackathon is a little bit more for the younger guys. I remember your hackathon without sleeping, there drinking, not even Heineken, but drinking coffee and cola all night, and then coming up to win something. I mean, I never won something. I took a t-shirt out of it, which I still have. But that was, in fact, the hackathon you made in the Rotterdam. I went with my friend Pierre Garot, who is now the CEO of Searoutes, living in Marseille, working very closely with the CMA CGM. And that was more or less our initial, it was some kind of a team building event for us. We went very close, sleeping in the same motorhome together in front of your venue in the Vanille Fabrik. So I really remember that time, and maybe it's you should do something in the next year. So that's also what I said. Let's do 1 year you do something, and the next year I do something.
Next year I do something. Yeah, great. Carsten, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I think we explored a lot about AIS and the route that has been taken, or the waves that are happening. Thank you very much for being in the podcast, and I'm looking forward to physically meet one another very quickly, or at least in Hamburg at the AIS Summit. Thank you very much.
Leon, was a pleasure joining you, and please keep up the good work, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you, Carsten. Bye. Enjoy your day.
Okay, bye.